guys doing? It's your old pal Bubble here in Monster City. I just want to make sure that you guys use your hand sanitizer when you go out to Monster Mart, and you social distance yourself, and you take care of each other, okay? That's the most important thing. I love you, and I hope to see you out very, very soon here at the Venue Salon. Mwah!
Hi, everybody. Welcome. Hello, Lynn. Hi, Sammy and Jerry and Jennifer. Welcome. Happy Pride Month. Oh, my goodness. Pretty soon, we'll hopefully be back together really soon. Oh, my goodness. I miss Bubble. I don't know about y'all. I don't get to see them very often. Have some of my Pride stuff up here, getting ready to celebrate. How was everyone's week? I see we've had a quite busy week for all of us. Hi, Callie and Mackenzie and everyone watching. Welcome. Oh, my goodness. Please continue to give us all these hearts and likes and share this event. Absolutely. Please share it with your friends and your family. Yeah. Oh, my goodness. My necklace is in the way. Everything's in the way today. I tell you, I woke up this morning, just silly things happening and making me laugh. When I was putting my makeup on, oh, my goodness, there was so much comedy happening. I should have been a comedy queen this week, I tell you. Awesome. So please share. We're going to read a story. We're going to talk a little bit today, as we always do. I think we're going on week like 9 or 10 or 11. I can't even remember. Every week we've been doing story time. I tell you, hopefully you guys are all enjoying it. Has anybody done anything fun and exciting this week? I would love to hear about it. I would love for you to comment and tell me. Absolutely. And if you don't know, if you have friends that would love to watch our story times and our events, and they're not on Facebook, they can watch us on YouTube now. We are live on YouTube also. And you can look it up at Rose Dynasty Foundation on YouTube. Absolutely. Oh my goodness. So I'm going to give a moment to catch up with some comments. I got that wonderful picture from Sammy wearing the Rose Dynasty shirt. Oh my goodness. It made me so happy when they sent me that picture. I did. I put together a collage, and I'm not sure if anybody saw that. All right. So tell me what you've done this week. My itch is right there. Scratch, 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 scratch. Anything exciting? Anything fun? Yeah, I worked all week, played some games with the teens, just prepping for some other exciting things hopefully we're going to be doing in the next month or two. Lots and lots of stuff going on. Everyone washing their hands. Very powerful. I saw your pictures. I'm very, very proud of y'all. I'm glad that y'all were safe and that it went well. I know there's one going on here in Lakeland today. Unfortunately, I won't be able to make that because of Storytime, and I have a radio interview after this. So I have some things I've got going on. But we're definitely supporting our brothers and sisters out there. Absolutely. And I think Callie and everybody, they went on a safari this week, I heard. All right, so today I am going to be reading a little book on history. And as you all know, that this is Pride Month, and I'm going to read a little book called Stonewall. A building, an uprising, and a revolution. And I think this is very powerful for this time, celebrating Pride and everything that's going on in the world, to learn a little bit about our history. There are so many exciting and wonderful things that happen during Pride Month, but sometimes we forget historically how things started. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about Stonewall, this little place up in New York. And I'm just so excited about reading this. I read it this week twice and very, very, very excited. And then throughout this month, we're going to be reading Pride-themed books. I think next week we're going to talk a little bit about some history and Pride and people who have been affected by Pride, who helped Pride. So we're going to read some stories about Pride people too. So I'm excited about that. Are y'all ready for the story today? I don't know about you, but I am. I think we're going to get started. We're going to talk a little bit more. So please, as always, like and share, give us some hearts and love, and then ask some questions. I'll definitely answer them, and we'll talk a little bit. So the name of this book is Stonewall, a building, an uprising, and a revolution. This is written by Rob Sanders and illustrated by Jamie Kristoff. All right. Two stable houses side by side. For more than 100 years, we witnessed history. Then came a night that became part of history. We were built in the 1840s to board horses in an affluent New York City, Greenwich Village. Have anybody ever been to Greenwich Village? I have once a long time ago. Inside our brick walls, horses whined and hammered and clanged. Outside, passers-by bustled as carriages rumbled over the cobblestone streets. Look at those horses. Wow, those buildings were built in 1840. That's a long time ago. I don't remember 1840, and I'm sure your parents don't either. Nope. As time passed, the wealthy residents began to move uptown, taking with them their clubs, their art clubs, libraries, fine hotels, and even theaters. Our neighborhood became a mecca for immigrants arriving from all over the world. Visitors made their way to Greenwich Village, and many of them stayed. Look at that. All those people coming to town. Everybody looks so different. Nobody looks the same. All right. Greenwich Village was changing, and we changed too. The smell of fresh baked bread began to waft out our windows and into the neighborhood. The roar of automobiles replaced the rumble of carriages as artists and writers moved in. Contemporary art galleries, experimental theaters, and small restaurants sprang up around us. The village was becoming a creative center of New York. By 1930, two buildings were joined together, and we became Bonnie's Stonewall Restaurant. Celebrities, artisans, tourists, and local residents lunched at our tables shoulder to shoulder. Look at that. The city was changing a lot from the time of the horses and everything. I could just smell fresh baked bread wafting into the streets. 1930. That's a long time ago, too. I don't think any of our parents remember that. Maybe our grandparents remember that time. Greenwich Village was a place where you could be yourself, and where being different was welcome and always accepted. Remember, we talk about the word accepted over here, right? Got to do this way. There we go. How being accepted, it sounds like a fun place. It sounds like a great place that so many people went to, and they could be themselves, and they could be accepted for just who they are. There's lots of interesting looking people in that restaurant. The newness trumpet, the newness thumped in the heart of Greenwich Village in the 1950s, vibrating our windows. Musicians played on the streets, and jazz filled the air. Poets, they performed in restaurants. Artists, they painted in their studios. The beat movement arrived, and it was witnessed by all. See the artist painting and the music playing. Sounds like a fun time. Everyone was just able to be themselves and be creative. Leading up into the 1960s, our neighborhood welcomed gays and lesbians, men who loved men and women who loved women. We were a home for people who were told that they didn't fit in or belong anywhere. So it sounded like that city was becoming very welcoming to everyone, no matter who they loved, no matter who they were. We had welcomed all kinds of people before, So we already knew what to do. In 1967, we swung open our doors and became Stonewall Inn. Gay men and women from throughout the city and even the country came to meet old and new friends. They were free to be themselves within these walls. Women and men, young and old, teenagers, transgender people, drag queens, veterans, business people, students, people of different color, religion, cultures, they gathered, they chatted, they laughed, they danced, all under one roof. That sounds like it was a fun place to be. So many different people there, all come together to have a good time. Sounds pretty awesome. Others, they were not so accepting. They thought those who gathered within our walls were too different. We heard the whispers and the voices of the inside saying, loving someone like yourself, that's illegal. Socializing together, we could get arrested. Wearing the wrong clothes could land you in jail. Being gay could get you fired or kicked out of your home. That's so sad. Why would anybody want to kick somebody out for being different? That seems really sad, doesn't it? That you could lose your home and your friends and even lose your job for being different. That's really sad. There were some nights we heard fists pounding at the door. We felt angry footsteps stomping at our floors, saw flashing and glaring lights as the police arrested those inside. Oh my goodness. After each raid, those who hadn't been arrested, they left quickly and angrily. They disappeared into the darkness, but we stood tall, keeping our doors open. People kept coming. Oh my goodness, it was so sad that it was not legal to be different back then. But it looks like Stonewall stayed open. But the police raids, they just kept coming. We couldn't stop them. In the steamy early morning hours of June 28th, 1969, under a nearly full moon, another raid began. Police voices shouted, "We're taking the place." Officers stormed through the doors, lining up the people inside, demanding their IDs and detaining some and even arresting others. Oh my goodness. It's kind of scary, isn't it? This time, those that were not arrested, they didn't disappear into the night. Instead, they stood defiantly in the streets and then the sidewalks under that rusty old sign. This time, they weren't quiet. As ones arrested were led to the police car and patrol wagons, the anger grew into the crowd. "Why don't you do something?" yelled one woman as she was forced into a police car. I think the people were getting mad. Immediately, the spark of anger grew into a smoldering resistance. Shouts and screams echoed off the bricks. The first thrust of air, we saw the faces of the crowds, and we felt their rage. The Stonewall Uprising had begun. The police, shocked by the defiance of the crowd, rushed back and barricaded themselves inside. You see, the crowds were angry. They were so upset that all these people were being taken away just for being different and just for being in a place together that they could be themselves. The Stonewall Uprising began. Our friends stood outside trying to force open our doors. Our windows were shattered. Smoke drifted through our rooms, but we stood firm. Years of silence, anger inflamed the crowd. The police called for help, and soon they arrived. The fires were extinguished. The police came back outside. But the crowds were angry, and they were not extinguished. Gay power, the protesters shouted. We want freedom. The police had never seen anything like this before, and neither had we. And it wasn't over. The Stonewall Uprising continued on through several days and nights. A new day was dawning for the gay rights movement. A change had become inside of our walls here at the Stonewall Inn. Now it is known as the LGBTQ plus right movement. Their voices were going to be heard, weren't they? On June 28th, 1970, our windows looked out on men and women gathering to celebrate the first anniversary of the Stonewall Uprising. At first, hundreds marched, and then thousands of women and men, young and old, teenagers, transgender people, drag queens, veterans, business people, students, and people of different colors, religions, cultures, and their friends and families joined to parade through the streets of New York City. Say it clear, say it loud. Gay is good, gay is proud, they chanted. Gay is good and gay is proud. It is okay. Many things are different now. Some things have changed. Even laws have changed. Now, two men can love each other, or two women can love each other, and they can even marry now. We know. We've seen their happy faces snapping photos outside the door. We heard their footsteps walking side by side along our floors. We have felt their love. Each year in June, people all over the world celebrate the movement of the LGBTQ plus rights, a movement that has come so far, a movement that celebrates freedom and to celebrate equality. It all began one night at the Stonewall Inn when two old horse stables became part of history. Just think, the Stonewall Inn was just a horse stable. We've come a long way. We're not finished yet, right? So, do you know that the Stonewall Inn is still there in New York? It's still a historical mark. It is now 51 through 53 Christopher Street in Greenwich Village. Over the years, the building has changed many times. In the 30s, it was a restaurant. In the 50s, it became another restaurant. More renovations began in 1966 to create a dance floor for the gay club. The raids happened on June 28th, 1969. News from that night resonated and has spread throughout the world. On June 23rd, 1992, a sculpture celebrating the Stonewall Uprising was unveiled across the street from the Stonewall Inn. In 2000, the Stonewall Inn was named a National Historical Landmark. In 2016, President Barack Obama designated the inn as a parting surrounding neighborhood as the first national monument honoring the LGBTQ plus story. Look at this. This is what it looked like in 1969 before the uprising. Sometimes we have to get together and let our voices be heard, don't we? We do. What did Jennifer say? It's sad when we have to fight for equality to this day. Racism, homophobia, and transphobia. It's still an issue in 2020. That's correct. There's still people out there that don't understand it. There's still people out there that don't like it. But we're here. And I have to read this again. I love this. I'm going to say it clear and I'll say it loud. Gay is good and gay is proud. Whether you're trans, whether you're pan, whether you're bi, whatever you are, whoever you are, it is okay to be proud of who you are. Let's respect each other and love each other. It's so important. And there are so many pictures in this book of history of the Stonewall Inn. This is such a great book. It's such a powerful, powerful book. There is another story I want to talk about. There was a lady, and we'll talk more about it in a future story time. There were two lady activists, Sylvia Ray Rivera and Marsha P. Johnson, were both transgendered lesbian activists, and Barbara Deming and Kay Van Ders. They were such strong part of our history of getting this started. And even back then, transgendered people weren't liked as much, and they had to fight for their rights too in the gay community. We have come so far in history, and I continue in our message of being loved, accepted, and wanted, of how important it is that it doesn't matter how you are, who you love. It doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter the skin color. It doesn't matter where you're from. You are loved, accepted, and wanted, and you are important, and you are valid. And even you can be a part of making history. Your voices can be heard. And sometimes our voices get tired. Sometimes our voices get angry. But I want to tell you, and I want to ask you with kindness in my heart and sincerity, let your voice be heard. Let your voice be heard in anger. Let your voice be heard in joy. Let your voice be heard in happiness. Share your voice. Share your story. And love people all around you. Even if they don't agree with you, love them. Love them. I love that story. It was so hard not to read that story and not cry. It is part of our history. I couldn't do this today if it wasn't for the Stonewall Inn. I couldn't. I wouldn't be able to do this. I wouldn't be able to come to you publicly like this and share stories and share love and acceptance if it wasn't for what happened that day in June of 1969. It's very powerful, isn't it? It's a powerful story. And I think we all need to remember that. Absolutely. I love the story. I love the story. Yes, absolutely. Stand up for others. It's important. Absolutely. Because there were people at the Stonewall Uprising that may not have been gay and lesbian and transgender. They were businessmen. They were teenagers. They were adults. And they were there standing up for other people's rights. And it's so important. And I would hope that as all of you go out in the streets, those of you that you're protesting and you're letting others' voices be heard, please be safe, be smart, be wise about it, and know that your voices are being heard. They are. I am excited about this month. Next week, I'm going to read a couple stories from the People of Pride book. I think it'll be really important for us to continue this history and read about that. And we're going to read eventually about Harvey Milk, which is another person in history that helped the LGBT movement. Absolutely. What else? What did y'all think about that story today? It was a little emotional. It was a little moving, wasn't it? I think it's important that we talk about history. We have to know where we came from, right? Absolutely. I just thank you all so much, as always, for joining Storytime. Is there anything you want to talk about before I leave for the afternoon? I would love to hear some of your experiences and your stories this week of how wonderful things that you had happen. I know we have a few minutes delay there. Please continue to share. Send us those hearts and likes. And know that when you share these, other people can see these stories. We try to teach Sammy. Sammy is going to be an amazing ally when they get older. I am so glad that I have Sammy in my life. I look forward to hearing from them and seeing their pictures. I cannot wait for my hugs the next time we get together, right? Yes, we do celebrate Pride thanks to those who fought for us at Stonewall. I don't think we realize how good we've got it sometimes. It's not, listen, we're not where we need to be. And I will continue to say that, but I'm so grateful we're not where we used to be. We've come so far. We still have a long way to go. And that's why parents like all of you and parents like Jerry and others that teaching their children to be allies to whoever they can, I think it's very important. I do. I really do. I love you all. I look forward to these days so much. And as always, remember, we've got Chit Chat with Mama on Wednesday night. I'll be meeting with my wonderful friend, Jennifer Foster from the One Orlando Alliance. And then Thursday, we, of course, have our self-care and mental health break with Patty and Lindsay and myself. And then if you have teenagers, remember Storytime. Do you remember that? Teenagers, story time too, yes. But remember, teenagers, we do movie night and we do game night for them also. So please keep up. YouTube, if you have YouTube, subscribe to our channel. Let's see, what do we say? Do we know about the protest? I don't know a lot about the protest. I know that there was an uprising. The Stonewall Uprising actually didn't last that long. There were protests, there were things that happened, but it took it. I don't know the exact time. I'm gonna have to do some more research on that, Danielle. That's a great question. I do know that all over the country that people stood up and fought for these rights. Even up into Harvey Milk when he was in office, in political office in California, there was still a lot going on with that. We used Stonewall as an example of protest last weekend that we were we actually used Stonewall as an example of protest last weekend as you were someone he knew. Oh, I'm glad that Sammy was able to see and experience that. I'm sure there's a lot of similarities to what's going on. I don't know historically, and I would love to find out, was there, how did the riots take place? I know that there were things thrown. I know there was a lot of things that took place, but I don't know a lot of that history. And of course, I don't even think there's a lot of film about that. That would be an interesting thing to find out, Danielle. I'll have to do some research on that. Absolutely. All right, y'all. I am going to, just so you all know, I will be live next week, but I will be recording some story times that will be pre-recorded just so Mama can take a couple Sundays off here and there. It won't be for a couple weeks, but we'll still make sure there's a story time posted every Sunday for now, just so I can take a little day off. But so, all right. So I don't know. I haven't been present. I do know that I can tell you firsthand, and I know Jennifer can tell you firsthand in her county, and I can tell you firsthand here in Polk County that this isn't kind of really where I wanted to go because this is story time. But we are seeing that there are people that are doing some inappropriate things that are not part of the Black Lives Matter movement. So I'm really not sure. It's definitely something to research and do. I can tell you that I know for a fact that Polk County's protesters are wanting peaceful protests, and they're standing and demanding for peaceful. And, I think there's a balance with that too. I do know that people get to a point and have enough and do things sometimes. But just like Jennifer said, that I know there and even here that the writers are not part of the Black Lives Matter. So no, you're fine. You're fine. It's a safe space. You are all Okay. So, but yes. All right. And if y'all want to carry on a conversation outside of this, we totally can talk some more. I'm going to go ahead and move on, mainly because I have to get ready for a podcast interview that I have in a little while. So I'll be doing that, and that'll be broadcasted sometime later this month, I think. So be safe out there. Wash your hands, social distance, be safe, whatever you do. And as always, please, please, please know that you are loved and accepted and wanted. Celebrate pride. Celebrate pride by loving your neighbor. Celebrate pride by loving the person passing on the street, and know that it doesn't matter who you are, who you love, what you look like, or where you're going. You are loved, accepted, and wanted. I love you all, and I will see you